What would you do right now if you knew, truly knew, that your dream life was already yours? Would you still hesitate? Would you still look to the world for signs, or would you turn inward and claim what is rightfully yours by divine inheritance? Men walk this world believing they are victims of circumstance, unaware that they are the makers of circumstance. The outer world is not a cause, it is an effect. All things are shadows cast by the imaginal acts of men. The secret lies not in the outer hustle, but in the quiet stillness where you dare to imagine and believe that which is not yet seen. To create your dream life in this year, you must first awaken to the truth. Imagination is the only reality. All that you behold, though it appears without, it was first imagined within. Creation is finished. You are not here to create from effort, but to select from the infinite. By assuming the state of the wish fulfilled, do not wait for the world to confirm your desire. That is folly. The world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting your innermost assumptions. Change the assumption, and the world must conform. Persist, not with effort, but with inner conviction. Feel the joy now, dwell in the end now, and you shall see the bridge of incidents unfold to carry you to what already is. Let 2025 be the year you walk by faith and not by sight. Stop asking, how will it come? That is not your concern. Your task is singular. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Sleep in it, think from it, breathe from it. Feel it so vividly that the world cannot help but bow to your inner reality. You are not a beggar asking life to be kind. You are life itself, clothed in flesh, dreaming dreams and calling them real. As within, so without. Do not seek change, become it. Take your attention away from what is and place it firmly on what you choose to be. Your attention is creative. Where it dwells, there you are also. And let this be your guide. If imagining creates reality, and it does, then dare to imagine boldly. Do not water down your dreams. The infinite within you has no limit save what you place upon it. Feel it real now, and reality must mold itself to match your inner world. You have been given the power, use it. Assume the noblest concept of yourself, not tomorrow but now, and persist in that state until it hardens into fact. What is imagination if not the very breath of the divine operating through man? You have heard it said that the world is real and imagination is illusion. But I say to you, the world is illusion and imagination is real. What you touch, what you taste, what you see with mortal eyes. These are the outpicturings of the inner state. All that you perceive as the solid and objective world began first as a movement in the unseen, in that silent place where thought and feeling dance together to give birth to form. Imagination is not a toy of the mind, nor a fanciful escape from facts. It is the creative faculty itself. When rightly understood, it becomes the workshop of God, the womb of reality, and the power that shapes the very fabric of your days. All things proceed from within, out. Nothing comes to you from without. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are conscious of being. And your consciousness of being is made known to you by what you dare to imagine. If a man desires wealth but continues to imagine himself poor, the world must echo back to him the poverty he affirms in secret. If a woman longs for love but imagines abandonment, then abandonment will be her portion. These are not punishments, but laws, and they are just. The law does not give according to your words, but according to the imaginal act that lives beneath your words, the one you return to in silence, in reverie, in feeling. You must come to understand that imagining is not idle. Every imaginal act is a seed. It may not burst forth in the moment, but it will not return void. It shall accomplish that which you have sent it forth to do. Imagination clothes itself in the garments of time and space, but it is not bound by them. It is the cause, and all else is effect. Your world is yourself, pushed out, and imagination is the means by which you push. Do you wish to see a change in your world? then do not fight the shadows. Do not war against the reflection. Go instead to the source, your imagination. Revise your assumptions, and the world will rearrange itself accordingly. It is a law more certain than the rising of the sun. Imagination creates reality, and there is no other creator. You may build 1,000 bridges with your hands, but if your imagination is set on failure, the bridges will crumble. You may study every strategy, master every technique, gather every resource. Yet if your imagination clings to defeat, defeat shall come, dressed in the very clothes of your preparation. Imagination, when felt as real, has the power to summon what the senses deny. This is not superstition. It is the science of being. If you will but dare to feel now what your senses have not yet confirmed, you set in motion a chain of events that must, by law, lead you to the physical manifestation of that inner feeling. It is not enough to see the picture in your mind. You must enter it. You must feel it real. You must walk in the scene, touch its textures, hear its sounds, feel its joy. You must lose yourself in it so completely that the line between imagination and so-called fact disappears. This is not self-deception. This is creation. The world will call you mad, for it trusts only what it can measure and dissect. But what is seen is made by what is not seen. The microscope can only examine the fruit. It cannot detect the seed of consciousness that bore it. All manifestation is a mirror, and if the mirror shows you what you do not like, do not strike the glass. Change the image that it reflects. Imagination is the divine presence in you, the eternal I am that creates simply by assuming a state. To say I am and then attach to it a state of being, I am successful, I am loved, I am free, is to create a new reality. It matters not if the senses deny it. The senses are servants, not masters. They follow, they do not lead. The world you know today is merely the condensation of past imaginal acts. You are never the victim of the world, only of forgotten imaginings. So be not careless in imagination. Be watchful. Do not dwell in fantasies of fear, bitterness, or limitation, for these too shall take root and grow. Guard your inner conversations. What you whisper to yourself in the silence of the night becomes your world by day. Speak to yourself as one already in possession of all that you desire. Live from the state you wish to express, and the world will rearrange itself to mirror it. Imagination is not passive. It is not daydreaming. It is creation. And creation is serious play. He who learns to master his imagination masters his world. He who neglects it wanders the earth, calling chance and fate what is in truth only his own untrained imagining. Do you now see? Imagination is the only reality, not because it is a pleasing thought, but because it is the truth. All else is but its outpicturing. Hold fast to your inner vision. Make it vivid, make it lovely, make it noble, and persist. For as surely as night follows day, that which is imagined, when felt in conviction, must harden into fact. You may believe that what happens to you in the outer world is the result of fate, chance, or the movement of others. But I tell you, nothing comes to you from without. Every condition of your life, every encounter, every rise and fall is but the echo of your inner speech, your inner beliefs, your silent assumptions. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you. The world is a mirror, and it reflects faithfully what you dare to assume as true within yourself. The assumption, though unseen, is the master key. The world of senses is merely the servant. You may paint your walls, rearrange your furniture, or travel to distant lands, but if the assumption remains unchanged, the scenery may shift, yet the story remains the same. If a man assumes he is unworthy, life will bend to show him the very reflection of his belief, and no change of circumstance can lift him until the assumption itself is transformed. The assumption is silent, often unconscious. It speaks not in words but in feeling, in tones too deep for the surface mind to hear. You may affirm health with your lips and yet assume sickness in your soul. And the world will ignore the words and obey the assumption. For the law responds not to what you say, but to what you are. And what you are is what you believe yourself to be in the silence of imagination. If you assume lack, you will see lack. Not because the world is cruel, but because the mirror cannot reflect an image you do not cast before it. If you assume rejection, life will speak in voices that seem to confirm it. But if you dare to assume love, to assume abundance, to assume the dignity of a being who already possesses their desire, the world will shift and reflect this new self-concept in the most natural of ways. You cannot escape your assumptions, for they form the framework of your experience. The outer world is clay, and the hand that shapes it is your own inner state. It takes the shape of your habitual thinking, your daily feelings, the moods in which you dwell. You are the potter, and the clay will yield to your inner command, whether you know it or not. This is not punishment, nor is it reward. It is the working of a perfect law. The outer reflects the inner because the inner is cause. The assumption is not a passing thought. It is the seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. And every seed brings forth after its own kind. Apples do not grow from thorns, nor joy from despair. What you assume to be true of yourself and others will crystallize as fact. Let no man say, I was mistreated without first examining the assumptions he held about himself. Let no woman say, I was overlooked until she questions whether she assumed her own invisibility long before the world seemed to ignore her. These are hard sayings to those who love to blame, but freedom is found only when you realize the power is in your hands and has always been. So examine yourself. What do you believe about life, about people, about your place in the world? What quiet conclusions have you drawn and buried deep, believing them to be mere observations, when in truth they were decisions? For every belief is a choice, a permission granted, and once accepted, it begins to mold the very fabric of experience. To assume is to accept as true, and what you accept as true becomes the law of your life. You need not speak it aloud. You need not even be aware of it, but life knows. It is not the conscious effort that shapes your days, but the deep currents of feeling and belief you carry into every situation. These unspoken assumptions precede you into every room and paint every face you meet. And so, people respond not to who you are in flesh, but to who you are in assumption. If you wish to know what you truly assume, look around you. Life is always revealing it, not to shame you, but to awaken you. The world is your looking glass, and the face you show it in secret is the face it will show you in return. You do not need to change the world, you need only change the inner image you hold of yourself. A change in assumption will bring about a change in reflection. Start now, not tomorrow, but now. Dare to assume the best of yourself. Dare to believe that you are already the person you long to be. Let this assumption dwell in you richly. Feed it with feeling, nourish it with repetition, protect it from the weeds of doubt, and persist. For as surely as the night follows day, the world will show you what you believe beneath the surface. No outer condition has the power to define you unless you accept it. You are not what the world says you are what you assume you are. And when that inner knowing becomes fixed, the world must comply. The law is impersonal. It does not judge. It simply reflects. Your part is to assume wisely, to assume boldly, to assume lovingly, and to live from that place. There is a mystery hidden from the world, yet revealed to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. It is this. Creation is finished. All that ever was, all that is, and all that ever shall be already exists. Not in some distant heaven, but within the vast and infinite field of imagination. Nothing is to be created. All is already made. Your task is not to bring something into being, but to choose from what already is. This may seem strange to the logical mind, which has been trained to believe in effort, in construction and building things up piece by piece. But life does not unfold by effort. It unfolds by selection. Every possible version of you already exists in the eternal now. There is a version of you that is poor and one that is rich, one that is sick and one that is well, one that is rejected and one that is deeply loved. You are not creating these versions. You are selecting which one you will express in this plane. All states exist. The moment you accept this truth, you become free. For if all states already exist, then what you seek is not something you must chase. It is something you must assume. If you want love, assume you are already loved. If you want success, assume you are already successful. The moment you do this, you move into that state. And from that state, all things necessary to its physical realization begin to unfold. Do not think you must build your dream from the ground up. That is the way of man, not the way of the law. You do not create the tree, you plant the seed, and the tree reveals itself. The tree was already complete in the seed, just hidden. Likewise, your fulfilled life, your dream self, already exists, complete, waiting to be claimed. It is finished. You need only enter into it. Creation is not linear. It is not a timeline that stretches endlessly forward. It is a sphere containing all things, all possibilities, all outcomes, complete in their perfection. This moment now is not the beginning of your journey. It is a doorway into any state you desire to express. And each state has its own world, its own people, its own circumstances, its own chain of events. Once you move into a state, the world rearranges itself to reflect it, not by force, but by fidelity to law. You may look around and say, but I see no evidence of my desire. That is because you are still looking from the old state. Evidence does not come before the assumption, it comes after. And even then, it arrives so naturally, so effortlessly, that you may forget the cause entirely. But the cause was always the inner movement, the quiet act of choosing a new state of being. The great secret is this: you are not the doer, you are the chooser. You are not here to push the river, but to place yourself in the stream where your desire already flows. Every state has its own timeline, its own sequence of events, but the state itself, the version of you that lives your desire, is already complete. You merely align with it through feeling, through imagination, through the assumption that it is already so. This world is a shadow play, a grand projection of the inner man. If you continue to walk by sight, you will repeat the past, for the world can only echo what you inwardly accept as true. But if you walk by faith, by feeling, you enter the eternal realms, where all is finished and nothing is denied to the one who dares to claim it. To say creation is finished is not to remove responsibility. It is to awaken you to power. For if it is finished, then your dream life is not in the making, it is in the waiting. It waits for your recognition, your attention, your acceptance. And when you give these things, when you live, think, feel, and act from the state of the wish fulfilled, then that finished creation expresses itself through you. You may call this selection imagination, or vision, or faith. It matters not. What matters is the knowing that what you seek is already yours, and that you need not struggle to bring it about. You simply assume the state and persist therein, not with tension, but with conviction, not with doubt, but with quiet assurance. So begin to think of yourself not as a maker of things, but as a chooser of realities. Think of every desire as a signpost, pointing you to a state that already exists. When you hunger, the food already exists. When you long, the fulfillment already is. Let the desire lead you inward, and there in the secret chamber select the end. And having selected it, remain there. Dwell in that state. Think from it, feel from it. Let your conversations reflect it. Let your reactions reflect it. And you will see the outer world with all its forms and shapes bend to the unseen selection you made in imagination. What you choose becomes what you live. And the choice is always yours. You must begin with the end. not as a distant goal, not as something to be achieved through toil or time, but as something already attained. You are not walking toward your desire, you are walking from it. You are not striving to become, you are remembering who you already are. The secret lies in living from the end, in making real within the imagination that which the senses have not yet confirmed. To live from the end is to think, feel, and respond to the world as though your desire were already fulfilled, not as a future hope, but as a present fact. You do not ask how it will come, nor when. You simply know that it has come, and you remain faithful to that knowing. The world may show you the opposite. The senses may scream that nothing has changed. But you, in the silence of your being, remain unmoved. For your reality is no longer shaped by what you see. It is shaped by what you assume. Feeling is the secret. It is not enough to say the words. The law does not respond to words alone. It responds to the feeling behind them. When you feel yourself to be the person you desire to be, you have moved into that state. And having moved into that state, the world must mirror it, not because you commanded it to, but because all that is required to express that state already exists within it. End quote. You are not instructing the world. You are selecting the version of you who already possesses your desire, and you are living from that place, quietly, confidently, and persistently. Ask yourself, if I were now the one I long to be, how would I feel? And then dwell in that feeling. Let it saturate your mind. Let it govern your thoughts, your words, your tones. Let it be the atmosphere in which you live. For what you feel deeply and consistently is what you become. You do not wait for the world to change. You change your inner state, and the world conforms. This is not pretending. This is not wishing. This is not daydreaming. It is assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and abiding there. It is living in the awareness that your desire is already yours. Though the facts may deny it, though appearances may mock it, you do not leave that state. You remain loyal to your vision, for you understand that the law works not by effort, but by assumption. Do not concern yourself with how your desire will manifest. The moment you ask how, you have stepped out of the end and into the middle. And the middle is always uncertain, always shifting. The how belongs to the law. Your only concern is the end. Live from it, trust it, feel it real, and it shall unfold in ways you could never plan. You do not climb toward the mountain, you descend from its summit. You do not fight your way to love, to freedom, to abundance. You become it, and the world reflects it. Your outer life is always catching up to the inner movement of your being. So let your inner world be rich, let it be generous, let it be filled with the fragrance of fulfillment. Suppose you desire to be free from debt. Living from the end does not mean forcing yourself to feel happy while still worried about money. It means assuming now that you are already free. It means feeling the relief, the lightness, the peace of being financially secure and letting that feeling become your dwelling place. You begin to think as one who has more than enough. You no longer worry because there is nothing to worry about. That is the state. That is the end. And by dwelling in it, even if the bills are still there, you move the unseen world, and the seen world must follow. Likewise, if love is your desire, you do not long for it as something distant. You live now as one who is loved. You speak kindly to yourself. You walk with confidence. You feel the warmth of companionship. You dwell in the joy of being wanted. This state, once accepted, becomes your reality, not by force, but by law. What you feel yourself to be, you become. This is not wishful thinking. It is deliberate living. The inner state precedes the outer event. The seed of fulfillment is planted when you feel the end. And just as the seed knows how to become the tree, your assumption knows how to become fact. You need not assist it. You need only remain faithful. The world responds to the tone of your being. It does not hear what you say in panic. It hears what you whisper in feeling. If you would change your world, change the mood from which you live. Abide in the end, and the end shall express itself. Let the outer world do what it will. You remain in the state. If you can occupy the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that state, the law must produce it. For the law is faithful, it cannot return void. Let your imagination be your sanctuary. Enter the scene that implies your desire is fulfilled, and live there, not for a moment, but as a habit of being. When you do this, your desire is no longer something to reach for. It becomes the place you think from, the posture of your soul. And the world, without resistance or delay, will show you what you have dared to feel. Imagination is not some fleeting daydream or idle fancy. It is the very essence of being. It is the creative power behind all that is seen. What you touch, what you hear, what you call reality, all of it first existed in the invisible world of imagination. Nothing enters your life until it is first accepted in the mind. Therefore, imagination is not something to be entertained. It is something to be honored, for it is the only true reality. The senses may argue otherwise. They will scream for your attention, insisting that only what they perceive is real. But the senses are slow. They are only reporters of what was imagined long ago. They cannot show you what is becoming, only what has been. If you live by sight alone, you will merely repeat the old. But if you learn to live by imagination, you enter the stream of creation itself. What you imagine, you become. Not by accident, not by superstition, but by law. You are not becoming what you wish. You are becoming what you consent to in the silence of your being. Imagination is the womb of reality. It is not separate from you. It is you. And what you dwell upon in imagination must give birth to experience. Consider this. Every great invention, every building, every song, every relationship, every movement in the world, all of it began as an image in the mind of someone who dared to believe in the unseen. And that same power is in you now. But unlike the world, imagination does not require tools. It requires belief. It requires focus. It requires a willingness to feel something real that the world has not yet confirmed. Your imagination is sacred. Treat it with reverence. Guard it from fear, from doubt, from images of lack or separation. For what you entertain in imagination, you invite into your life. Every time you imagine yourself unworthy, you are shaping your world in the image of that belief. Every time you imagine yourself rejected, you are sending out the mold from which your experience will be cast. But just as you have imagined lack, you can imagine abundance. Just as you have imagined pain, you can imagine healing. Imagination does not wait for permission. It does not need evidence. It needs only your consent. The moment you accept an image as real, not with the mind, but with the feeling, that image begins to express itself. And once it has taken root, it must grow. There is no force on earth that can stop the harvest of an idea you have felt as true. You must learn to imagine boldly, not timidly, not as a beggar asking for scraps, but as one who knows that what is imagined in faith is more powerful than what is seen in fear. Let your inner world become more vivid than your outer world. Let your vision of your ideal self become the place from which you think and act. Do not wait for proof. Imagination is the proof. For what you see in the inner world today, you will walk through in the outer world tomorrow. This is not to say that imagination is a denial of reality. No, it is the shaping of it. Reality, as the world calls it, is malleable. It bends to the inner man. It reshapes itself according to the image held within. You are not bound by facts. You are bound by beliefs, and beliefs are nothing more than sustained images in imagination. Train your imagination, use it with precision, sit quietly, and build the scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. See it, hear it, touch it, and most of all, feel it. Make it natural, make it normal. Let it become so real that when you open your eyes, you are surprised to find it not yet visible. That is the secret. The world will follow. Do not imagine as though you are watching a story unfold. Imagine as though you are living it. You must become the central character, not the observer. The moment you become it, you have claimed it, and the outer world must conform. Not always instantly, but inevitably. For imagination sets the path, and life walks it. You are never at the mercy of the world unless you believe it. The world is only the reflection of what you have imagined to be true. If you wish to know what you have truly believed, look at your life. It will show you. Not to punish you, but to awaken you. Once you see the connection, you become free. Free to imagine anew. Free to recreate yourself, not by force, but by inner conviction. And so, live in the richness of your imagination. Walk daily in the scenes of your fulfilled desire. Speak as one who has already received. Feel as one who already is. The world may take its time, but the seed has been planted. And what is planted in imagination, if watered by faith, must grow. Imagination is not an escape, it is the way. What you dare to imagine consistently, you will live. For imagination is not a shadow of reality. It is reality itself, the first cause, the unseen root from which all things emerge. What you imagine, you become. There is a subtle power at work in your life, one that does not shout or demand attention, yet governs the unfolding of every condition you experience. It is the power of assumption, not fleeting or momentary, but assumption made permanent through persistence. The outer world may seem loud, urgent, ever-changing, but it bows without resistance to one who quietly and persistently assumes a state of being. To assume a thing is to claim it inwardly. It is not to beg, nor to plead, nor to wait. It is to say it is so, and to walk through life from that inner declaration. Yet it is not the single assumption that brings forth the manifestation. It is the continued dwelling in that state. Many begin well. Many assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled for a moment, a day, even a week. But when the senses do not confirm it quickly, they retreat. They abandon the assumption and declare it did not work. But the law never fails. It responds, not to brief imagination, but to sustained inner conviction. You must persist in the assumption, even when there is no evidence, especially when there is no evidence. For the outer world is slow, dense, delayed. It reflects the past. But the inner world moves instantly, and the moment you assume a new state, you have shifted realities. The change is made. The only thing required now is persistence, the discipline to remain in that state, unmoved by what the senses report. Imagine planting a seed in soil. You do not dig it up the next morning to see if it is growing. You trust the process. You water it, you care for it, but you do not disturb it. So it is with assumption. Once you have planted the seed of your desire through inner acceptance, you must remain faithful to it. You must persist, not with anxiety, but with certainty, not with strain, but with knowing. Every time you doubt, you replant the old seed. Every time you look to appearances for reassurance, you confess that your assumption is not yet real to you. The work, then, is not to convince the world. The work is to convince yourself. When you are fully persuaded inwardly, the world will conform effortlessly. Persistence is not mere repetition. It is not saying the same words over and over without feeling. It is the continual returning to the end, the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled. It is the discipline of consciousness. When the mind wanders to doubt, you gently return it. When fear arises, you do not fight it. You shift your attention back to the state desired. This is persistence. It is gentle, quiet, and absolute. The state you occupy determines everything. Not what you hope for, not what you try for, but what you live from. And what you live from is what you persist in assuming. You cannot live in the state of lack and expect to receive abundance. You cannot dwell in loneliness and expect to find love. The outer mirrors the inner, without exception. So the task is to remain, to dwell, to abide in the feeling of already being what you long to be. There will be moments when the senses tempt you, when the world around you looks unchanged or even contrary. But these moments are not setbacks. They are tests of your inner allegiance. Will you believe what is seen, or will you remain faithful to the unseen? This is where persistence becomes power. The one who persists despite appearances is the one who masters reality. You must persist until it feels natural, until the new state is no longer a wish, but your normal. That is the sign that it is done. When you assume the state so completely that it no longer feels foreign, it must objectify. The world cannot help but reflect what you believe yourself to be. Do not judge your progress by what happens outside. The outer is always a delayed echo. The true work is internal, invisible. If you persist in the assumption of health despite illness, if you persist in the assumption of success despite obstacles, if you persist in the assumption of love despite absence, then the very substance of your world will bend and shift to reflect that inner movement. This is the quiet strength of those who understand the law. They are not moved by facts because they know facts are fluid. They are not shaken by delay because they know delay is not denial. They are not dependent on circumstances because they live from within. Their confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment with truth. And the truth is this: what you assume and persist in must become your experience. Let your assumption become a place of residence. Let it be the home in which your mind dwells day and night, not just during meditation, not just in silence, but in your walk, your talk, your reactions, your choices. Make the assumption your identity. When you do, manifestation is inevitable. This is not effort in the outer world. This is effort in the inner world. The most powerful work is invisible. It is the daily moment-to-moment persistence in imagining and feeling from the place where your desire is already fulfilled. This is the art. This is the discipline. And this is the secret behind every fulfilled dream. The unshakable persistence in assumption. There is a subtle force that guides the manifestation of every desire, and it is not found in the intellect, nor is it found in action alone. It is found in the realm of feeling. Feeling is the bridge between your conscious mind and the unseen world. It is the realm where your thoughts take root and where they begin to shape your experience. To align with success, to bring your desires into being, you must begin with emotional alignment, the practice of feeling as though your desire has already been fulfilled. This is not about surface-level excitement or brief enthusiasm. Emotional alignment goes deeper. It is the cultivation of the emotional tone of your desire, and it is this emotional state that becomes the magnet which attracts the physical manifestation. The feeling is not something to be faked or manufactured for a short moment. It must be a state of being, a way of living and experiencing the world. It is from this state that everything flows. Many will try to change their outer circumstances by force. They will push, they will work, they will hustle, yet without emotional alignment, all their actions are like rowing a boat upstream, filled with struggle and resistance. The outer world cannot respond to the efforts of the intellect alone. It responds to the emotions you carry, for the emotions are the true substance of reality. This is the real work. Align your emotional state, and the outer world must shift to reflect it. So what does emotional alignment look like? It is the quiet inner knowing that you are already living the life you desire, and the emotional state that accompanies that knowing. If your desire is to be wealthy, for example, you do not work hard at pretending to be wealthy. You feel wealthy. You feel the comfort, the security, the freedom that wealth brings. You feel it deeply and sincerely. You do not chase after it, you become it in your emotional life. You let that feeling wash over you day and night until it becomes second nature. When this emotional state takes root within you, everything in the outer world must reorganize itself to bring you the physical manifestation of that state. The power of feeling is immense. It moves beyond mere thought or affirmation. While thoughts may precede feelings, it is the feeling that activates the law. Feeling is the electric current that energizes your desires and gives them the power to manifest. Without the emotional alignment, the thought alone is insufficient. You can think about your desire for years, but until you truly feel it, until you embody it as a living, breathing emotion, it will not become your reality. Imagine for a moment that you are already the person you wish to be. See it clearly. Now step into that state emotionally. What does that person feel like? What does success, abundance, love, or health feel like from the inside? Feel it deeply. Allow yourself to sink into that emotional state. When you do, you are not just imagining what it would be like to have your desire. You are living in the emotional world of it. And from this place, the outer world must eventually shift. You may ask, but how do I feel it if it is not yet here? The key is to stop focusing on the lack of it. Do not dwell on the absence. Instead, feel the presence of it. Your mind will argue, the senses will deny, but the emotions are the language of the heart, and the heart speaks directly to the unseen forces that shape your reality. Feel the truth of your desire as though it were already in your life, and the universe will respond to that feeling, shaping circumstances to match it. This emotional alignment is not always easy, especially when faced with external conditions that do not yet reflect your desire. The world around you may continue to show you the old story, but this is where the discipline of emotional alignment comes in. You must train your emotions to respond not to the outer conditions, but to the inner state you are assuming. This is the mastery of your inner world. It is the emotional control that determines your future. You must persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when the world seems slow to respond. The emotional state of fulfillment is magnetic. It attracts circumstances, people, and events that are in harmony with it. Your emotions carry a vibrational frequency, and that frequency is what draws your external reality into alignment with your inner world. When you feel the joy of success, the satisfaction of love, or the peace of health, your energy field is in harmony with those things, and the universe, which is nothing but a reflection of your inner world, responds accordingly. This emotional alignment, once practiced, becomes effortless. It becomes a natural way of being. You do not need to force your emotions. The more you persist in the feeling of having your desire, the more natural it becomes. Soon the idea of living in lack or limitation feels foreign to you, as though it no longer fits who you are. You have become the embodiment of your desire, and the world, both inner and outer, must reflect this change. In order to align with your desires emotionally, you must be willing to believe in your own power. The emotions you cultivate are the evidence that you possess the ability to bring your desires to life. When you feel deeply and sincerely that your desires are already yours, you are not just waiting for them to come to you, you are walking in them now. You are embodying the essence of your dream. This emotional alignment is the key that unlocks the door to your new reality. Do not underestimate the power of your emotions. They are the creative force that molds your life. Feel your way to success. Feel your way to love, health, wealth, and every good thing you desire. And remember, this is not about manipulating your emotions. It is about tuning in to the natural emotional state of your fulfilled desire. When you do, the world will show you, step by step, that your inner alignment has shaped your outer reality. There is a profound truth that we must understand. The way you speak to yourself in your inner world shapes the reality you experience in the outer world. Words have power, but more importantly, the words you speak to yourself in the quiet recesses of your mind are the most powerful of all. Every day, whether consciously or unconsciously, you are affirming your life, your circumstances, and your identity through your inner dialogue. This inner speech is the unseen force that creates your visible world. When we speak of inner speech, we are referring to the continuous monologue that plays in your mind. It is the quiet conversation you have with yourself when no one else is listening. And this speech is more than just thoughts. It is the energy you transmit to the world. Your inner words are not simply passive thoughts, but active creative forces. What you say to yourself repeatedly becomes the picture you form of who you are, and that picture is the seed of your reality. Consider this. Every situation, person, and condition in your life today has been preceded by an internal conversation. Every success, every failure, every relationship, they all began with your internal dialogue. The things you say to yourself about who you are, what you can do, and what is possible for you shape your experiences. But this inner speech is not something to be taken lightly. It is the script you are writing for the unfolding of your life. And just as a playwright writes the lines of a character, you write the script of your own life with the words you speak in silence. If you tell yourself that you are weak, you will experience weakness. If you tell yourself that you are poor, you will experience poverty. If you tell yourself that you are unlovable, the world will reflect this belief back to you in the form of relationships that mirror that lack. But on the other hand, when you speak words of strength, abundance, and love to yourself, the universe has no choice but to reflect those words back to you. Your inner speech is the code that the universe reads to create the conditions of your life. The power of inner speech is so subtle that it is easy to overlook. But when you pay attention, you will begin to notice how your inner dialogue reflects your outer experience. If you're experiencing difficulty in a particular area of your life, listen closely to your thoughts. What are you telling yourself about that area? Are you affirming limitation or possibility? Are you focusing on the problem or on the solution? The key to transforming your reality is not just in changing your outer circumstances. It is in transforming your inner dialogue. Now, this does not mean that you must ignore the reality of your present conditions. Acknowledging where you are does not mean you have to accept it as your permanent state. What matters is not what is happening around you, but what you are telling yourself about what is happening. Your internal dialogue determines how you respond to external events. It determines whether you see obstacles as insurmountable or as opportunities for growth. It is the lens through which you view your world. Every time you engage in negative self-talk, you are reinforcing a belief that keeps you stuck in a cycle of limitation. Every time you speak to yourself with harshness or self-criticism, you are affirming your belief that you are not enough, that you are incapable, or that you are undeserving. But when you begin to change the language you use within yourself, you begin to change the picture you are holding of your life. And as the picture changes, the circumstances around you must change to reflect it. This is why it is so important to become mindful of your inner speech. You must begin to listen carefully to the words you use to describe your life and yourself. Pay attention to the thoughts you entertain, the words you speak under your breath, the affirmations you repeat to yourself. Are these words in alignment with the person you are becoming? Do they reflect the life you desire to live? If not, then you must begin to replace them with words that match the vision of your ideal self. You can start by creating new, empowering self-talk. Every time you catch yourself thinking a negative or limiting thought, replace it with an affirmation of possibility. If you think, "I can't do this," replace it with, "I am more than capable of overcoming any challenge." If you think, "I am not good enough," replace it with, "I am worthy of all good things." These new affirmations should not just be words. They must be accompanied by the emotional charge of belief. You must feel the truth of them as you speak them to yourself. The more you speak these words in earnest, the more they will take root in your subconscious mind, and the more your outer world will shift to match them. The beauty of this practice is that it is accessible to everyone. No matter where you are in life, no matter what your current circumstances, you have the power to change your inner speech. You have the power to rewrite the script of your life. The moment you begin to speak to yourself as the person you want to become, you are already on the path to becoming that person. The more consistently you affirm this new inner speech, the quicker the outer world will catch up. This inner speech also governs your interactions with others. If you are kind and loving toward yourself, you will naturally be kind and loving toward those around you. If you are self-critical and harsh, you may find yourself projecting those same tendencies onto others. Your inner world is a reflection of your outer world, and your outer world reflects back to you the inner state you cultivate. Ultimately, the key to changing your life lies in transforming your inner speech. Begin to affirm the life you want to live through the words you speak within. Speak with love, speak with power, speak with confidence, and as you do, watch as your world begins to shift in alignment with those words. As we reflect upon the principles we've explored, one truth becomes clear. Your life is not determined by external circumstances, but by the internal forces you master and align with. The world around you is a mirror, reflecting the assumptions, emotions, and self-talk that shape your inner reality. By understanding and applying these key principles, from the power of assumption to the importance of emotional and inner speech alignment, you realize that you are not a passive observer in life, but an active creator. Every moment is an opportunity to choose the state you wish to dwell in. By persistently assuming the feeling of your desires fulfilled, by aligning emotionally with the reality you wish to experience, and by cultivating empowering self-talk, you become the architect of your future. The outer world must respond to the power of your inner world. As you shift your assumptions, emotions, and inner dialogue, the entire fabric of your life will begin to align with your highest vision. Remember that the key lies not in the external effort, but in the inner alignment, the deep conviction that the life you desire is already yours. With persistence, emotional harmony, and the disciplined power of your inner speech, you will unlock the fullness of your potential and create the life that you have always dreamed of. The power to manifest your dream life in 2025 and beyond resides entirely within you, and the time to begin is now.